War Eagle. This is Coach Kevin Steele, defensive coordinator, Auburn football. We are obviously in very unprecedented times, and the most important thing right now is the health and safety and well-being of the Auburn family and the country and the world. And so the first thing we want to do is say we hope that each one of you and your extended family members and your loved ones are doing well. We miss the interaction. We miss seeing you. But the great thing about it is we have technology now where we can stay in touch. And so we're going to give you a little taste of Auburn football here for the next few minutes, and hopefully it can bring some joy to your life. We're in, like we said, unusual time, but I would like to go back and just visit with you just briefly about last season. We had a very unique group on defense last year in that it all came together with leadership, work ethic, the things that you try to get a true Auburn Tiger, an Auburn man to be. We had that. It was player driven, and they were a fun group to coach. Obviously, the thing that pops up is that we had some very, very high moments last year, and we had some moments in which we let a couple of very winnable games slip away. That's not our standard. That's not what we expect, you expect of Auburn. And we're working diligently to make sure that we get to that standard and stay at that standard each and every week. It was made possible by guys like Marlon Davis and Derek Brown, Jeremiah Denson, Javaris Davis, Daniel Thomas, guys like that have moved on to the next level. We will certainly miss them, and everybody's question is, how are you going to replace those guys? Well, you've heard me say many times before, this is college football. We can't re-sign them. We cannot re-sign them. And so we're built to replenish the roster. We know that when we take them, they're going to leave within 3 or 4 years. So we have to have a plan well in advance. Pretty much the year after we sign them, we're already anticipating them leaving. So we're trying to replace them. That's going to be a little bit of a different challenge this year in that we went out and obviously signed a recruiting class where we were balanced across the board. In D linemen, we signed 5, 2 linebackers, and 4 defensive backs that we didn't get to see in spring practice. That's a little bit of a challenge because in this league, you need freshmen to contribute and help you. We missed that development in spring practice. We're going to miss probably some of the summer development. But that having been said, we will deal with that. The challenge that we have has been negated somewhat because we're not playing against someone, and we do not lose a competitive advantage because some other team had their players and went through spring practice and went through summer conditioning. That's not the case. We're all at the same point, and that the developmental of the young guys development of the young guys has been a little bit slowed down. But that having been said, we're Auburn Tigers, so we're going to be positive. We have a plan. In fact, we've got multiple plans. We've got plans to where if we come back a certain date, or if we come back another date, or if we come back another date, and then how do we get them in football playing condition? How do we get them mentally ready to take on to the challenge? How do we get their mind working in terms of all the football installation that we have to go through? So there's multiple plans. We're in a plan right now, but we're willing and able and fully capable of adjusting that plan at any point in time, and we will get the job done. There's a bright side to this. Football will return, and when it does return, your Auburn Tigers will be prepared. We have a plan to do that. We will get it done. There are no excuses. This is something that we don't control. It's much bigger than football in terms of all the illnesses and that kind of stuff across the country, the world. That is the priority. But our job is to prepare your football team and have them ready for competition in the SEC. And so we do put our thoughts and prayers and our support to everything that we need to do as Americans to make this thing right. But as football coaches, we have to have a plan. We have to be positive. We have to know that we're going to put a team on the field that's prepared, that's ready to perform at a high level, to be Auburn Tigers, and to work to be champions every single day that we're at this. And so that's what we're doing. We wake up each day with the win the day mentality. We wake up each day with a focus on being a champion and having a plan to do that. In terms of talking about where we're at depth-wise a little bit, because everybody wants to know that. The first thing you'll say is in the back end, you lost Javaris Davis, Daniel Thomas, and Denson. And those guys played very, very good football for us, and they will be missed. But we've had a plan, and we've worked a plan, like I've said before. Roger McCreary is a young man who has played very, very well at the corner, has played a lot of football. He basically started in the nickel package. So in most games, he's not listed as a starter from last year, but played as many snaps as the starter. Then you go into the safety position where Denson and Thomas were. And obviously you've got Sherwood and Mundy, who is there. They've played a lot of football for 2 years. They basically are considered like starters to us. They've played at a starter level, so we're in good shape there. And we've moved Peters from nickel, the star position, to safety, as well as we have Askew, and then we have Chris Thompson, a freshman. In terms of the other corner, Nehemiah Pritchard, Jalen Simpson, Devin Barrett, those are guys that have been maturing and migrating to the point of where they could be on the field at every snap. We would like to have had spring practice with them, but that's not the case. So it's one of those situations where you figure out another way to do that. We have a plan to maximize their reps when we get started back and get them to the level we need to. We have 2 young guys coming in Reed and Damio, junior college corner. So with that, we feel comfortable in the back end that we have a good group of guys who can help us. There's a possibility that we may get a look at Matthew Hill or Jadon Sheffield at corner. So we may do kind of like we did with Noah and bring a wide receiver over. That's not unusual because when you look across the SEC, you look across college football, a lot of times running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers in high school move to defensive back. So that's not unusual, and we've had success with it with Noah. At the linebacker position, Coach Williams is certainly in a different position than he was when we took this over 4 years ago. It's hard to believe we're in our 5th year as a staff, and we're pretty proud of the fact that there are 4 guys coaching on defense, and they added the 5th guy last 2 years ago. They added a 10th coach, and so we got that on defense. But the 4 guys that we started with, Wesley McGriff, Coach Rodney Garner, and Travis Williams, and myself, we were together when we started this 4 years ago, now going into our 5th year. Now, Wesley took a short sabbatical, but he's back. We are, in terms of longevity of defensive staff, we are way high in the league, if not first, in terms of years at the same school. And I think it's a pretty wide margin in that regard. So we have staff continuity. That helps us in a period like this. It helps us in a major way. But when we did take this thing over, Coach Williams, as a linebacker coach, had guys who had not played a lot. And everybody was, what are we going to do at linebacker? Well, he did a great job of getting Trey Williams and Deshaun and Davis and that group of guys, Darrell Williams, ready to play, and they played well for several years. But we're now in a situation where we're going into this year where we have KJ Britt, Owen Popo, Chandler Wooten, and McLean, who have all played at a high level and played in big games. So then we add 2 freshmen, Wesley Steiner and Cam Riley, who we feel very good about, as well as we've got some other young guys and Brown and brothers, Marsh. Dean has been a great special teams player for us, so we've got considerable depth there with a lot of snaps. In terms of the star position, Christian Tutt, who played probably 50% of the time, Javaris played the other 50% when he was not at corner. So Tutt is back. Zion Puckett is a young man who has been developing and gives us depth there. And then we have a freshman we would like to have got to work in spring again, but Tennyson is a young man who has all the skill sets we think to and maturity to help us early in the process. We will get him ready as soon as we can get back on the grass. Up front, we've got several guys back with Derek Hall, T.D. Moultrie, Newkirk, Handy, Truesdale, Miller, that group of guys, as well as we have Caleb Johnson, and we got Big Cat Bryant. So there's a group of guys there, along with the freshmen we have coming in height, Romello Hardy, Burks. We got Trey Butler, a junior college defensive lineman, Daniel Foster Allen, and Zakevius Walker. So we've got a group of guys. We've just got to make sure that we can answer the question, even if we have to answer it, well, how do you replace Derek Brown? Well, I've been doing it 40 years. There's not many Derek Browns around there. So we may have to replace them with 2 guys, and that's very possible. Hopefully one guy will step up and do it, but if we have the numbers and the athletic ability, maturity there, as well as the best defensive line coach in college football and Coach Rodney Garner, I don't think anybody can argue the fact that he can develop defensive linemen. That's a proven fact for well over 30 years in the SEC of how many people that have gone on to the NFL under his guidance. So we feel very comfortable there. Getting back to where we are right now, we're now at a point to where our players have just finished exams. And by the way, I think we had the most football players over 3.0 GPA in the history of Auburn football. So they adapted to this very good. And I think it probably maybe says something about that they're better learners on computers than sometimes we give them. I know it had been hard for me to have to change my class from going to class to being on a computer because I'm just beyond turning it on. I can get a little bit past turning it on, but these guys can do pretty much anything on a computer, and that's evident in what they did. They did a great job of going home, turning on their computers, getting to work. Our academic staff did a great job, and we came out of this with a very solid academic resume, which we're proud of. So that puts us to, okay, where do we go from here? And I'd like to tell you, I don't know. That's well above my title. Our job as a defensive staff is to have a plan, work that plan, get up every day to be the best we can be at the task that we're on that day. Where we're at right now is we are in installation. We can do our meetings with our players and give them the book through computers and through Zoom meetings. We can watch tape with them, and we're doing that. But there's nothing like being on the grass and teaching. When that will happen, don't know. That's okay because everybody's going to be on the grass at the same time, so nobody's getting a competitive advantage. We have a staff and a group of guys that are mature. They understand the challenge ahead. We're excited about the opportunity, and we are going to make sure that your Auburn Tigers are ready to play when they say play. And so if that doesn't matter, if that's in a parking lot, if it's in a field, if it's out in the street, we don't really worry about when we play, what time we play, or who we play in a normal year. So we're not going to worry about what time we play, who we play, or where we play in this time. We're going to show up and we're going to play because that's what Auburn Tigers do. And so with that, don't expect anything less. The standard for Auburn is the standard of Auburn. We fully aware that of what the standard is. We ask you to embrace it with us. We're not going to adjust that standard. that is a championship standard, and we will do everything in our power to play to that standard, and we hope that you will hold us to that standard, because Auburn expects excellence, and we know you expect us to be excellent. We're up to the challenge. We have the plan, and we're excited about it. War Eagle, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you back in Jordan-Hare Stadium soon with the Auburn Tiger victory. War Eagle.